for our fabulous people online. So kia ora katoa, fantastic to see you in 2022. We weren't sure if we're going to be here on our own because everybody's just not quite in the work role, the full work pace, but thank you so much for coming and joining us today. So today we have the fantastic Janine Morrah here with us from Parent to Parent, and she's going to share with us her knowledge and some of her journey around as a facilitator for, it's gone out of my head, Janine, please.
Now
help.
and next.
Now and next, of course, this amazing parent-led resilience and self-management program. That's a fantastic thing for us, myself as a health professional, to really orient to and see completely alternative ways of doing things, and also fantastic tool for families. So I'm Fee Graham. I am one of the team at the Paediatric Society NZ, and we work in a voluntary capacity. We have the gorgeous Parry here, who's our paid facilitator, and I'm not sure if there's anyone on the team here, but flick your video on today. We work in a voluntary capacity. We put on these CPD events, and we do a range of other advocacy work. Sorry, Janine, of course, is also a member of that group. And if you would like to get involved in making these freely available teaching sessions happen, or some of the other project work we do, we'd love to hear from you. We love young people, old people, experienced people, inexperienced people. You've all got something to offer. So our topic today is around the Now and Next program with Janine, and we also just broadly, we essentially work through the Paediatric Society of New Zealand, which is an interprofessional, multidisciplinary group, including non-health professionals that are just really working to advocate the causes for children who are developing differently. That's what we do, with a particular focus on New Zealand. So again, it happens because people get involved. We'd love you to be involved. Please do be in touch if you'd like to get involved there. Just a quick heads up for our next session is focusing on some of the research around autism that's coming out of the University of Canterbury with the amazing Dr. Laurie Snyder, and she'll be presenting in 2 months' time. And next month, we have our workshop type session, which follows on from Janine's presentation today. So Janine, with no further ado, I will hand over to you.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen, folks. Yeah, I'm just going to be talking, like Fiona said, about the Now and Next program. So and how it benefits all in the community surrounding our children with needs. And I'm presenting here as a mum rather than as a professional. So I'm doing the whānau approach here, people. So I put the program slide up so that you can see the overview while I'm just chatting in general at the in the background at the moment. I was first introduced to the program as a regional coordinator for Parent to Parent here in Mid-Central, or Whānau Kaha land as we now call it. I experienced it, loved it, and now I'm here talking as someone with 3 years experience facilitating and contributing to the development and expansion of the services that Plumtree offers to whānau and professionals alike. Really good partnership between Parent to Parent and Plumtree to deliver this 3 times face-to-face here in Whānau Kaha land. So this program was developed a few years ago when Anith and Silvana met at a conference overseas and said, wouldn't it be lovely to be able to give to people, to parents of those with needs, the way we would have liked to have received it when our children were younger. So they developed the Now and Next program, put their money where their mouth is, and it's been going for about 6 years now. It's delivered now in New Zealand, Australia, Canada and Finland. And the people that deliver it are all peer facilitators like myself. We all have children with needs. We've gone through the program, loved it so much that we wanted to, know more, do more and share more. So we became facilitators. We're also quite deeply involved in the development sessions to improve the program or expand into new areas. So when we facilitate, it's it's more than just, you know, us showing up to show the slides. It's about, you know, we've taken the feedback from previous sessions and we've added this in and contributed to the development of the program. So it's continuously improving in that sense. It's a program, as you can see there, it's for whānau of those with needs, usually between the ages of 0 to 8, although people like me with older children also get to experience the program with my child was 18, I think at the time when I was going through, and it was equally applicable. It's based on positive psychology principles, starting with the visioning and goal setting using the Pictability Kit, and then using those principles to scaffold how to get the goals successfully for the family, the child, and the personal, and then to reflect on each time on when a step is added to the process. So people work through this program individually, even though they're in a group setting, and often they're surprised at how things are the same for other people in the groups. And they really enjoy the sharing of their stories through reflection and really get into supporting others on their journey, even though their experiences might not be the same. They do a lot of problem solving, which helps not only themselves to expand the way they see things, but others in the group as well. So really, really dynamic settings. So with the mechanics of this program, it can be delivered online or face-to-face. So face-to-face is 4 one-day sessions that are weekly, although that can be changed somewhat to suit the preferences of the group or organisation partnering with us to deliver the program. We also provide childcare in the face-to-face sessions for the children as needed, and that adds quite strongly to the dynamic, not only getting whānau to attend. For example, one parent might attend and the other parent would stay at home, or solo mum and grandmother might stay at home looking after the children. They can both attend if that's what they wish. So it's not only that, but also the children coming and going in the room are really quite cool to add their voices to those in the room, soaking up the knowledge. So it's very, very family oriented. We also do online sessions. You know, COVID constraints have prompted us to do this probably more quickly than what we thought we might be doing, but it's definitely successful. So the online arrangement is that there are 8 2-hour sessions delivered either once or twice weekly, and again, according to demand. And all of the face-to-face and the online options have been done, evaluated, and shown to be successful. So we're quite adaptive. Face-to-face is preferred, but it has been shown that working online with whānau is equally successful, and the empowerment stories still come through in the reflective sharing that goes on in the course. So participants include anyone that surrounds the child. Could be a solo parent. We've had solo mums and or dads. We've had grandparents, foster parents, you know, sometimes partners that have separated but coming together for the good of the children. So we work with any family dynamic. There's also many different cultures that have come through and enjoyed the experience too. And interestingly, it's not just sort of like one culture saying, oh, I identify with you because you're from the same culture, but it's actually a genuine sharing of families around the children with needs and identifying that there's more just to the culture that they perceive. So the parents get a workbook and a kit. I'm just gonna, that's the workbook. I hope you can see that. And this is the kit, the Pictability kits. And they either get mailed to the people or to give in on the day. So the Pictability kit is the first step in visioning and goal setting, and it's very hands-on. So once again, the whānau are working on those individual goals for themselves, their child with needs, and their family as a whole. And, you know, there are comments made, for example, I thought I was doing well, and now I realise I've just been coasting and it's time to step up. So here I'm going to show you a couple of examples of steps along the way. So the first step is to choose an image from the page given, and again it's individual, and they sort of like think of one that best represents the child and place a sticker beside it. So for example, if you chose the starfish, you would explain what it meant to you, and one may say, I couldn't find any other fish. My son absolutely loves fish. He knows who Dory is from Finding Nemo. He knows about sharks, and he knows tiger fish, and just loves looking at images about them and playing with them all the time. So then we ask them to consider what their child's strengths are, and just short phrases or one word type thing, put them in here. Now, this person might say, my son's really good at organising things. And so then organise would go on here. But then they might say, my son's a runner and so much energy, it drives me round the twist, kind of thing. And that's where we as facilitators would say, well, okay, so even though it's a challenge for you to keep up, is energy necessarily a bad thing? And so, oh no, and start to put it in here. So we're embedding those positive psychology principles all the way through and helping them to see the good in their children through here, for example. So there are a few more steps to go along, but the next one that I want to show you is where they go through some photo cards and they separate them into ones that do resonate and ones that don't, put the ones that don't resonate to one side and start working with those pictures or images that they've chosen. So here we have an example where this person I did seen this picture and thought more family moments, but another person might see the same picture and view it differently and say, I want my son to know my parents, his grandparents, before they pass away. Or another one might say, I need more time for myself, so I want to ship them off to my grandparents more often, my parents more often. So it's up to the individual how they perceive the picture and what they write. So then once they've gone through that, they start to put them on what we call the vision board. And it's a little difficult to see here, but the focus is on the child here, personal here, and family here. And this really helps the whānau to start to see things more than just my child with needs, but how are we impacting as a family? And myself as a person in there, quite often we parents put ourselves last, and I'm a good example of that. And some people, it's an opportunity to start putting things in and thinking about it. Some parents are so maxed out, they're like, I don't have time for this, I'm not going to put anything down. And to be honest, I was one of those. I thought, I don't really see the need, but just to please people and move on, I put some things down. And I found that even though I was a reluctant person to put in the personal, what I put down actually became solid. And I actually started to actively think about it and then work on it, which is very, very effective. So, I was a reluctant participant in the personal, but really have learned to consider myself in the whole family dynamic. So another really important thing that we see here is this part of the middle. And this is where we start to give families agency right from the get-go. This is where people start to see that they can, even though they've identified goals that are, they need extra help for and things like that, there are always things that they can start to work on themselves. So instead of waiting for the professionals who might be physios or OTs and waiting for those appointments and times, they might actually identify that I have gross motor skills for my child. I want them to learn how to ride a bike. I don't always need to wait for the professionals. They can catch up with me. And that's not what they feel at the start. That's what they find as they go through this process. So at the start, they might be a little bit reluctant to have the trike or exercise in here and to do it themselves. But that's where we help them along the journey to start to see what's possible for themselves. And this is where they start to feel empowered and say, okay, so when I start to, after the Now Next program, when I start to work with these professionals and get partnerships with people in my communities, I can feel more confident and participate as a person rather than wait to be done to, which is quite often we get into that, state of trauma and after we've got a diagnosis and sort of sometimes lose our agency and become a little too passive. And I'm putting my hand up and saying, yes, I'm one of those here. So then after this process, we ask them to prioritize. And again, you can see that it's family, child, and personal, and that they organize their own goals. And then the next step is to actually identify a step, a first step, and then work to enact it. And that's sort of based on your SMART goals where, it's within a month or less, and it makes sure that it's achievable and realistic, all of those kinds of things. So they do that step and talk about their progress throughout Now and Next. Once they've achieved that step, they put it to one side and write another step, put it in there, and keep doing the process until they've achieved that goal. Then once they've achieved that goal, they would put it to one side into a pamphlet, a little envelope similar to this. They would put it into their achieved, select another one for their family goal, and then start identifying their steps to achieve that goal. So it's an ongoing process that they can work independently on without input from doing the now input from the actual now and next sessions. Yeah, sorry. This means that also it can continue on after the now and next program is finished. I've seen families where from one end to the other end of the spectrum to the other, where one person's come along and said, yep, we've achieved 15 goals for family and child and personal, and we're ready to go. Whereas other people, it's like, yes, I've achieved this and this in my 4 weeks. I'm still struggling with the personal, but I understand the process, and I've finally achieved one step within this month. And actually, I feel quite good about, even though it's taken time, how well it's happened and achieved. So then from there, we do other things in the Now and Next program that cements their visioning and their goal setting. So this is an example of the goal to action dashboard, where they identify what long-term goal they're working on, and whether it's child, family, or personal, and then the steps to be taken to get to that long-term goal. They've got a little checklist here, and then you can see these 5 windows below where what have they already got that's within their kite to work with? What do they need to get to do this to reach their long-term goal? What does their child need to have or to do to assist in the process? So it becomes more equable, rather than sometimes we slip into old habits and tell our children what to do rather than consult. Then the changes to the environment to support the goal. For example, if you want your child to go to the park, maybe taking something that they love, a toy or something, to re-engage them back to coming back to where you want them to be, or taking a cushion that they've identified as their favourite, for example. So changing that environment in the park option. And then those people, agencies, funding that can help. I have a neighbour next door who likes the exercise and would love to come for a walk to the park with me and look after the other 2 children while I concentrate on little Johnny, for example. And then we have those positive psychology sides of things as well, where we look at an individual's signature strengths and what they can bring to bear in their own sphere or setting. So this is an exercise where they're cutting things out and they're identifying 5 to 8 strengths that they feel they have, and then they put them into their shield. I'm just going to pop it up to the screen there, and they can identify it, use it, think about it, cogitate, and often, like me, we look back at it all the time and we think, okay, so I need to bring this to the fore, and things like that. So they're really thinking about themselves and their processes and how they apply that to their goal setting and goal getting.
Janine, can I just clarify there? That's the parent strength and strength
Yes.
shield, yeah, not the child.
Yeah, but then so we can take that one step further and say they actually start to do this with their children, and they do it with their older children and other people that are in this sphere as well. So it's what you make of it, really. So I'm aware of the time. I just wanted to sort of conclude to say that, with professionals, the people going through this process are much more relaxed. They have a stronger sense of hope. They feel enabled and empowered and have that stronger sense of community and well-being. There's lots of tears and laughter on this program, but it's so good that we just, we become really connected, well connected. So for the professionals, we find that there are better partnerships. There's less conflict between the professionals and the parents, and parents are much less passive, which makes the professionals' role a lot easier. So I could talk more about this, but I'm wanting to respond to questions and stuff at this stage. So I'll stop sharing and we can go into chats. So do we have questions?
I'm sure there are a lot of them. Janine, or to everyone, I'd just like to open it up to the floor. Janine's presented some really interesting ideas from a concepts and principles point of view, as well as the specific intervention. There's lots of stuff there conveyed about empowerment, about autonomy and agency of the families, taking an education focus and so on. So I'd encourage you to question widely.
Please do.
I've got a question. Is it all throughout New Zealand?
It's available, yes, in New Zealand, just not well known. So it could be done online or face to face.
Okay. And so, do the families contact you or through?
So I have an email for you. The lovely Erin, she's around here somewhere, and Mohammed's here too. So I can just post a copy into the chat her email address, and you can just contact her and start the ball rolling if you like.
Perhaps Janine, one of your colleagues could type that in while we're here.
Oh yeah, Mohammed, can you do that? Love you.
It's always good to delegate, Janine.
Nice, B. Any other questions, Beeps?
Hi Janine, I'm Pauline here from ABI. Thank you for your great presentation. Looks really interesting for whānau members. What would you say to our community here of professionals about how you would like us to engage in the partnership side of that, where you mentioned that parents come out feeling a sense of more agency. What do we need to do to then drive that further at the professional end?
To drive it, spread the word far and wide. You've got connections where you know that people are troubled and or in various stages of need. So certainly driving this in that sense. If you find parents that are interested and have their own funding, then they can certainly register individually with ERM. But it would be really nice if you guys were able to sort of group people within your community, so that then we could deliver sessions to community groups, or however you'd like to do it. So there are facts and figures with it. I know that. Sorry, are you talking from a Ministry of Health perspective or education?
We've got all sorts online here. So you've got private providers, you've got ministry, you've got health, Ministry of Education. So yeah.
So get the funding, spread the word. Certainly speaking with like parent-to-parent regional coordinators, and just the idea is the more you set it up as a community group, the stronger the relationships that you will find between families, that they actually start to spread out into your communities in ways that you don't anticipate, because they feel enabled and empowered, and they have that sense of hope again. So they start to share their key takeaways from the program with other people at the school gate, or with their neighbours across the fence, or with their friends, kind of thing. So it's a very deep community type approach that's honestly, the more you do to support it, the more your community will get out of it. And we found that.
Janine, can places purchase, can an entity like Ministry of Education or the organisation that's just asked that question, are they able to purchase a package for their, or does the consumer, does the advocate, the person with the child, go directly to parent to parent?
Look, we're happy to partner with anybody in any capacity. So individuals can do it, and organisations and community teams can do that, absolutely. So that's what will happen is you would indicate an interest, and then it would go through to ERM, and then facilitators would be identified, and they would come along and deliver the program for you. But the other thing is, like I said right at the start, we have peer facilitation. So within your community, people that have been on the Now and Next program would then be encouraged to step up and become those peer facilitators, so that then they would be running the program and you would be building it within your community. Does that answer it well enough? Cool. Other questions, comments?
Are facilitators paid?
Hey, Ros. Facilitators are paid, yes, for the days that we do, or the sessions that we do. So yeah, it's it's great, and it is self-perpetuating, which is really good. Sorry, Ros, sorry we interrupted you.
That's right. Hi, Janine. A really exciting program which I've been aware of, but there's a few questions in the chat that I'm also interested in around what the cost to families is.
So, yep, the families have choices. If they, if they want to do this as an individual, then the prices I've got as of late last year are all in Australian dollars. But if an individual wants to do it, they can use their IF to do it, apply for funding to do this through their NASC, or they can pay themselves. So as an individual, it's 940 Aussie dollars. It gets less the more you have. So if you can cluster a group of 10 people together, then it comes at 9,400. 12 to 16, 16 is our capacity. That's where it would be at $12,000. So it's for 4 days at $940 for the individual. I think that's quite good. And when you consider what goes into it, for example, if there's a need, we can support your children while you're doing the program and things like that as well. So we're definitely focused on the whānau. You also get to keep your workability kit and your workbook. And this kit people bring out before they've got certain sessions, for example, IEPs or transitioning through schools, going to see some kind of health professional, OT, physio, etc., or at times of change, or my teenage son is now driving me nuts, then the habit is to pick it out, pull it out, and revisit it, review, and then redefine where your goals are, and just use it as a touchstone. So I think it's good in the sense that it's scaffolded well, it's by peer facilitators, and you get to keep the materials and work beyond the program rather than the program's done, what's next kind of thing. Other questions?
Janine, I'm not sure, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Shirley Campbell here, so I'm at our DHB, and we under one of the CDS projects in 2020 tested. So yeah, love listening to your project, to your feedback on Now and Next. And Julie and I are here from our project and are feeding back to the ministry this week. It has taken quite a long time, but I have you got any more comments about the connect that forms within the group? Our group that we ran, the facilitators said they really clicked in the first session, and it was a mix of ethnic and cultural parents, and like you said briefly, the program seemed to pull everybody together.
100%.
They had children with needs as opposed to the cultural differences that they all had.
Yep. So each group dynamic varies. It definitely varies, and you get out what you put in, obviously. But based on positive psychology principles means that these families are actually starting to explore an issue positively and starting to see things that other people may see as a negative and have made us feel as a negative, start to see it as a part of their personality, and then start to develop and evolve from there. So the beauty of it is you're working with something individually and you're sharing it into the wider dynamic, and that wider dynamic is something that like expands things out, and so people start to think about things in a different way, and then they start to form these groups and sort of clusters, but then they realize that this person might be with them on the same page in this way, but this group is on the same page in this way at this time. So they really start to interconnect and start to understand where other people are coming from. So it not only lowers their stresses, but it increases their tolerance for other thoughts and ideas. So then again, they're starting to go back into their community and bringing that dynamic through. So you might start with 10 people in the room.
Janine, I'm going to gratefully and kindly just interrupt you there. Your passion for this is just through everything that you say and share for the last half hour. So the next session in 1 month's time, thank you so much for today. And next month, the same time, what we're going to do is have an open discussion and action planning session about what you, from your perspective, could take from today, helping to move you into some points of action, a bit like perhaps a mini session of Janine's program, from moving to goals and aspirations to actions, that what is actually doable for you. And that will be really different for different people, depending on the type of role that you've got. So again, ka kite anō. Thank you so much for joining us today. Share this with your friends. The session will be online, and so will an ongoing discussion. And we'll see you next month or the month after for a session looking at the use of telehealth for children with ASD.
Thanks, everybody.